Dr. Arcot Rajasekar is a professor in the School of Information and Library Sciences at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, a chief scientist at the Renaissance Computing Institute, and co-director of Data Intensive Cyber Environments Center at UNC. Previously, he was at the San Diego Supercomputer Center here at the University of California, San Diego, leading the DataBridge technology group. He has been involved in research and development of DataBridge middleware systems for over a decade, and is lead originator behind the concept of the storage resource broker and the integrated rule-oriented data systems, two premier DataBridge middleware developed by the Data Intensive Cyber Environments Group. He has a series of other awards and roles, but I'll let him get started now with our seminar on DataBridge. So please welcome Dr. Rajasekar.
Thank you very much for a kind introduction. I'm going to start. How do I make it completely the larger one? Make it full screen? Hello? Sorry.
Everybody can see in full screen.
Oh, full screen. Okay, I'm not able to see full screen. Oh, okay, that's good. That's good. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Today I'm going to talk about DataBridge, which is a project at University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and actually we got two other partners. One partner is at the North Carolina State University and at here at Greensboro, and then the Harvard University also is another partner. This is a combined project, an NSF-funded big data project. Basically, today I'm going to talk about what motivated us to do this particular project and the design criteria which went into the design of our project. And then I'll also talk about how it has been implemented and what is the status of the implementation, and show a few screenshots of how you can use that and what it shows, and a little bit about the future of what we plan to do beyond this particular one. So first one is some sort of a motivation for our project. Everybody know about big data. The big data is a new what do you call term being bandied about, but I suspect we have been doing big data for a long time. But the main thing is that there is some characterization of what is a big data, which is a really good thing that is happening. And we call them as the 5 V's, as you can see there, about volume, velocity, variety, veracity, and value. And these 5 things basically are going out of bounds, making it into a big data, so that we got a lot more volume, a lot more velocity, and different types of data, and having problems with integrity and fidelity of the system. And the worth of the data is also going up, as we can see. But there are 3 kinds of big data. The normal one, or the traditional, I should not say traditional because it's a fairly new concept, so I call it archetypal big data, comes from the large projects and large industry and government installations. For example, the Light Hadron Collider, or the Space Telescope, the Synchrotron Space Telescope, or the SCEC, and other projects which generate a lot of data that are of interest to the community, form part of it. And similarly, if you look at genomics, or the finance data, or the pharma data, are all getting pretty larger, counting in petabytes now. And similarly, if you look at the Ocean and Atmospheric Agency, or the NASA, which is collecting data from satellites, the volume is increasing very large as newer and newer satellites with higher capabilities are being deployed. These data are basically what we can call as high volume, high velocity data, and they are very predictable volumes, which are and velocity which is coming through in there. One of the good things about this particular type of big data is that they have low variety in the sense that there are very few types of data in there, so that it's very easy to standardize. It is got a lot of metadata surrounding these things. Many of them are particular schemas are being adopted by them, like the USGS schemas and stuff like that, and very well curated because they have the money to do that. Because of that, they are highly credible and very good fidelity and integrity in there, and are very well funded and have high value for particular types of problem solutions. And apart from these 5 V's, I also put 2 extra additional criteria for big data is the findability and availability. So findability for these type of data is very high for the archetypal big data is very high, and the availability is also very high because of the published API. So I call them in the same parlance as what astronomers use as a light and visible data. The second type of big data is the one which is, I call it as a crowdsourced big data, is basically done by the social media or the web or by people interacting, the common citizens interacting with the web and creating a lot more data. The ones which are normally we look at is the social media such as Facebook and Twitter, or people go and use them like the Yelp or Groupon or Angie's List, where there is a lot of interactions between people and these type of sites. And of course, the web commerce is the third type of these type of crowd-oriented big data, such as Amazon, eBay, or Orbitz, and so on. If you look at these type of data in terms of volume and velocity, again, they are really high. One of the things about this big data is that even though it is a very high volume, most of the data is very small. For example, we know that the Twitter has a small footprint per tweet in a sense like that. They have very high variety because there are many type of these sites which are available, but they are well managed in the sense that each of them have a particular schema or a particular type of message in there, so it's very well managed by these type of things. And the veracity in the sense that is mixed in here. Some of them are low veracity in the sense that they are not credible. Some of them are very high. For example, whenever you go to the Yelp website, you have to take the recommendations coming from there with a pinch of salt. Maybe you are a little bit more higher with respect to Angie's List or Groupon, and so on and so forth. So veracity is a little bit mixed. With respect to value, it is ephemeral in the sense that it is there today, it's gone tomorrow. They are also highly findable because they are well advertised. You know the website for Facebook and Twitter and so on and so forth, and you go to one site to get to that particular type of data. And availability is also there. There's immediate interest, but after that it goes off. So that is the type of data, and I call them, again, using the same astronomy parlance, as a NOAA-like data. They are flicker and flicker out type of thing, but there are, again, high volume and high velocity in there. The third kind of metadata of big data is called the long-tail big data, and that is a type of data which is of interest to the DataBridge project. Is mainly the small science projects and small teams and small organizations which create projects of this particular one. And I will also include personal type of citizen science, amateurs and hobbies and arts and things like that get into these type of small long-tail big data. And the internal government unpublished data and stuff like that also get into that, which are pretty large compared to what is out there, and high volume again, but the data are very, very small. The velocity is low because they are not even out on the internet. Most of them are hidden completely. The problem with this kind of data is that their variety is very high. There are too many of them, too many different things. Each organization have its own way of metadata and own way of storing, and when you have individual scientists creating these data, they have their own way of putting the data together. And for example, I may use some Excel spreadsheet, and what I name as the columns is left to me. There is no standardization in there, so it is more idiosyncratic than particular standards. Credibility, again, I would say it is credible until proven, and value as of now is unknown. The bad thing about this particular kind of big data is that there is very little findability and very little availability. It's very highly hidden and not advertised, and in the terms of availability, it is basically in somebody's local disks or tapes and so on and so forth. And in particular, if you look at the diagram in there, which basically shows you how the traditional enterprise data and the big data and the third kind of big data called the dark data, which comes in, how they interact and what the size of them are in there. And you can see that that's a very representative diagram of the big data, which spans across traditional data as well as the non-traditional data or big data in there. Our interest is, like I said, is basically in the long tail of science data. We are interested in these type of data. There are the type of data here is that there is a large number of data generators. Like I said, scientists and citizen scientists are part of it, and they are highly distributed because they are in multiple places. And they're not very well connected. They are distributed. They're not like Facebook or Twitter. Even though the originators are distributed, they all come together in one place. And similarly, if you look at Amazon, all the data is in one place, and then they get distributed to whoever wants to use that particular one. Whereas in this particular case, these data are not federated or pulled together, and that is one of the main problems. Where do we find it? And here is an example. Like if you take NSF in year 2011, they had more than 11,000 awards. The median size of these awards are 126K, and primarily there are single PI projects. Each of these projects is generating a lot of data, and they're all hidden. They're not available easily. If you add them together in aggregate, they will be in the petascale range, and are of possible value because they have been funded, and they've got some good value out of that particular one, but it is not easily pulled together to form a whole. So these data is called the dark data, unpublished, used once probably, but forgotten after that as you go from one project to another project. And many of the data is also sunset in the sense that after some time they are not available. Even if it is available because of some mandatory requirement like NSF, even in NSF the requirement for retention is not more than 3 years, at least 3 years, and after that it is left to the community to make sure that it is available type of thing. And many of the data gets expired, even if it's curated, gets disposed, and many of the data like social media data is not even available for future in a sense. So these type of data form a big problem, and they have some information in there which is probably of interest to the larger community, but they are not completely currently available for people to use. So we find that there are two types of problem with respect to these long tail of science data. I call them as the first mile problem, as the last mile problem, similar to what is faced in the internet also. Like you have the first mile, we have the last mile problem in the internet, not that much in the first mile problem. It used to be there in the very beginning, but now we mainly have the last mile problem where the connectivity to the internet can be pretty slow when you're coming from some places. So the first mile problem in the case of the long tail of science data is that I have the data, I am a single scientist working in my lab. How do I make it available for other people to do that? Where do I upload? Is there a place? Do I need to keep it in myself? Could I put it behind a web service? And how do I make it available? How do I make sure that I am in charge and nobody else is in charge? Or if I give it to somebody, will they take good care of it? How do I get credit if somebody uses that particular data? And can I control the access to that to only a few people? And so are the type of questions which form the first mile problem. And in long term, the first mile problem is there again and again in the sense that how long do I keep it? Is there a central repository where I can store it and somebody else curates it for ages? And if that is the case, who pays for something like that? Even NSF doesn't have a solution to something, a problem like that one. That is the first mile problem. The last mile problem is that let us assume that somebody makes their data available. How do one find it? Is there a way for the originator of the data, the data gatherer or the data provider, to make sure that it is easily findable, it makes it easily visible? Metadata is one way of doing it, like the semantic web is trying to figure out a problem for that particular one. What is the way to do something like this for scientific data, which need to be there? Are there methods which can be used to make these data findable? And in many of the cases, these data are of particular kind. If you take astronomy data, they have a particular type of schema, like the FIT schema, or if you go to the MRI or any of the other imaging, medical imaging, they use the DICOM format and things like that. Can I use some information coming out of these things so that I can expose the data in a more easier way, because there are specific ways and specific characteristics which I can take advantage of. Might be helpful if I can use them to make them available. And the thing comes in is that I have a data. Is there other data similar to that? Is it possible to find that? Solving these type of problems is really good for the long tail of science data, but not only that, we suspect that solving this type of problem will also help the other two big data, both the traditional data as well as the crowdsourced data. So the dark data from the long tail of science is small data sets coming from numerous people. We are mainly interested in scientific data for the DataBridge project, so we are interested in how we can make this type of things available for them. In science, this is not new. For example, even Tycho Brahe and Joseph Mendel had these small types of data which were there and which they never published, in a sense, and people somehow found it. For example, in the case of Brahe, obviously he didn't publish it, but it was Johannes Kepler got it after he died and then used that, and then now we have the Kepler's laws because of that. And similarly, we knew about Mendel worked on genetics, but it was discovered probably a long time later that he found many of the laws of genetics by himself, like that. And here I quote Brian Hadron, which basically says, these long tail data is dark data not easily found for potential users. That is the most important part of that, is that there are potential users, but they don't get to these type of data. Improving the availability of these data is important, and we want to expose these hidden nuggets. So that is the main motivation which made us look at developing some sort of a bridge between these data providers and potential users, and try to make a link between them. And the DataBridge is a project which we proposed to NSF to do that, and with the funding for the past 2.5 years, we have been working on this project. So the basic design of the DataBridge is that we tackle many of the last mile problem in this particular project. The project is not funded with a very high funding, so we started, when we proposed it, we proposed both the last mile and the first mile problem, but because of not fully fundable, we just mainly deal with the last mile problem, but show an avenue for doing how the first mile problem can be done also. Like I said, the main aim of the project is to improve findability of these dark long tail science data. The way we solve the problem is we call them as empower the data, in the sense that how much can we automate so that the data finds its own community of other data in there. So it finds a community of like-minded data, similar data, and it can find communities based on multiple dimensions. So that is what we are looking at, so that a data is connected to multiple other data in ways which are completely automated, in a sense. So it might find some strong links with other data, but it may find some weaker links with some other data of different type, and we would like to see how we can make this type of discovering these type of interesting links and do that automatically. So here is a simple example to motivate how we are doing it. This particular slide shows you a network of the records released by Doc Watson. Doc Watson is a North Carolina native. He is a bluegrass singer and a guitar player. He has released multiple records, and he has also collaborated with several people. And if you go to Amazon.com, you'll find a whole bunch of albums by Doc Watson. But the most interesting thing is that when you go to Yasif.com, they formed a cluster of these Doc Watson data, not just by the records which are released by Doc Watson, but have other interesting type of links with a particular other musicians like Earl Scruggs or Ricky Skaggs, who have collaborated with Doc Watson in producing combined records in there. For example, if you look at it, there is a record called The Three Pickers, obviously three guitar players, and they got together and released this particular album. And you have, from using that particular link, you can go left in there and then get to Earl Scruggs' albums, and if you follow the other link, you go to Ricky Skaggs' album. And similarly, Doc Watson had multiple kinds of genre of music. He not only did bluegrass, but he also did gospel, soul, and blues, and things like that. So there are multiple ways of him being connected through these type of links with other albums and other singers and players and in there. So in a sense, you can see that there are multiple ways of connecting his records in multiple dimensions. And this Yasif.com tried to do that in there. And what we are trying to do is something very similar to what these people did for scientific data. So I'm going to give you a little bit about the design of how we did this particular one. In our case, what we did is we just basically tried to see, can we use what is happening in a similar network? Like if you use LinkedIn or ResearchGate or Facebook or any of these type of things, you see that they form what is called social networks. Say if you go into Facebook, you get a network of friends. If you go to LinkedIn, you get a network of other people who are in your own organization or who have similar interest or work in the same capacity or same level, and so on and so forth. You can do the same thing, and they use what is called socio-metric network algorithms to do these type of linking. And our idea is that can we apply the same SNA algorithms, socio-metric network algorithms, to link data in there, to find similarity, to find relevance, find clustering in there, and in a sense try to do it such a way so that anybody can go and write their own relevance algorithms, write their own clustering algorithms, and put it in there so that we can democratize the process. So the idea is not only to find ways of connecting data, but also trying to help people so that they can come up with their own way of clustering things and use the DataBridge to do the clustering. So if you look at it, here is the infrastructure, what we have. We can accommodate multiple types of algorithms, SNA algorithms, that is the socio-metric network algorithms, relevance algorithms, and clustering algorithms. And the main idea behind it is that you can have a crowdsourced way of adding new algorithms to the systems, so that you can have your own SNA as a MyVector algorithm, or you can add your own way of searching and defining similarities between two data sets, or you can have your own way of clustering things together so that you can form a community of things. So in a way, we just said that we are not only going to build this particular system and put only our algorithms which are going to do the way of bridging them. We are going to open it up so that anybody can put their algorithms in there, and then they will be able to use that to do the federation of these data. Just to give you an example of how it is done, I'm going to. Here is a way of how we can do that. I'll get back to the other slide in a few minutes, because this basically gives you a scenario where how a user can use a system like what we have. For example, user A has a novel way of finding gene sequences. They can have one particular way of doing a signature detection, for particular types of genes. Maybe one particular disease or something like that. They have built it, they have tested it and things like that, and they would like to say, okay, I'm going to use that and publish it into the DataBridge. We provide APIs so that somebody can take their algorithms written in any language, because one of the ways we do that is because of message-oriented architecture. Anybody can just wrap their algorithms using the API which we provide, so that they can subscribe and look for these messages for this particular type of gene sequence. Let us assume that this algorithm is now available and waiting for people to use, and then another user B comes in, and in their case they have sequenced a new gene and they just publish that. They have published it so that DataBridge can go and pick it up and say that this particular new gene sequence has been published. And when that happens, the user's ACE algorithm automatically detects that the new gene sequence has been published, and it computes the relevance of this gene sequence with respect to the signature which it knows. And if it finds a relevance, it publishes that particular relevance into the DataBridge so that other people can use that. So this relevance now gets in, and there is a let us say user C has a relevance algorithm which can take the message coming out of the relevance out of the A, and then use that and to add this new gene sequence to a community which is relevant to that particular type of signature. So let us assume there is a community of data which belong to that particular signature. Then the gene sequence from B gets added to it. If the gene sequence from B is not relevant to the signature, it doesn't get added. So that's the way it automatically does it. The user B, when he publishes it, doesn't even know what is going to happen to that. It's an automatic process. They just publish the sequence. And similarly, when the user A published their signature algorithm, they didn't need to know which particular sequence is going to use it and how it is being used it and which particular community it is going to be added to. They don't even have that type of thing. It basically happens automatically as part of our DataBridge algorithm. And if needed, you can actually go back and reuse the same algorithm on older gene sequence and find relevance and form larger communities. So getting back to our DataBridge architecture, you will see that it is centralized with a message-oriented middleware, which basically provides you with intercommunication between these type of process. For example, signature finding process is there. That is a relevance algorithm which finds relevance between the gene sequence and the signature. And similarly, there is another algorithm which creates the SNA, that is a network, which takes all the data which are relevant to this particular signature and form clustering together of that particular one. So that is another type of system which basically does that. The linking between these things are not hard-coded. They basically subscribe to this message bus, and all the linking is done by the message-oriented architecture. The main advantage of doing something like this is that now we can accommodate as many relevance algorithm as we want, as many signatures detectors as we want, as many network socio-metric network algorithms which basically can form clusters and so on and so forth can be there. What we also did is that we attached a metadata database. In our case, we put a signature database in a MongoDB, as well as we also have a network database, which is a Neo4j database, which can take these networks which have been created and store them. And somebody who wants to visualize, basically again gives out a message into the message-oriented middleware and get the relevant network of interest so that they can visualize that particular one. So everything is done in this particular case by the network. Sorry, I'm going back. By the message-oriented network in there. So if you look at our implementation status, basically we have developed this particular system. I think it's called version 0.5 is available. It has got all the rudimentary things which are needed to run this particular system. There is a messaging system based on the RabbitMQ, which basically does this brokering between all the ingest engine, relevance engine, and network engine. And we also have a simple ingestion GUI so that it can somebody can submit their data to it and automatically get it looked at by the signature detectors and then added to a community of data. And like I said, we also have some visualization display as part of that. So one of the internal details, which I don't want to go into much into details, is that there is a whole bunch of different kinds of messages which are provided out of the box from here, like run SNA algorithms, or somebody says SNA data available, so that somebody else can take that and put that into a network database. Or let's say somebody ingests some particular types of metadata, then a relevance engine can kick in and when the metadata becomes available, and then do something with it. Maybe look for a similarity with other metadata, and then try to find define a similarity matrix, and so on and so forth. So in a sense, everything is run by messages. Everybody is listening. Okay, there's some new messages come in which might be of interest to me. I'm going to look at it, do something with it, and send out another message. And then that's the way the whole thing works. And one of the good things about doing something like this is it becomes highly scalable and highly distributable. Everything is not running on a single system. You can run your, let us say you have your signature detector. You can run it in a different place. It doesn't need to be on the same machine as the network database. And similarly, if you have a place where you are ingesting your data, it doesn't matter where it is. It basically, once you ingest the data there, as long as it sends out a message saying that, hey, I have a new data available, automatically it can be picked up by somebody else who is residing elsewhere and subscribe to that particular message. Here is a simple message schema for you. The basic thing is that whenever you have a new type, for example, a new type of disease gene sequence is what you want to publish, you ask for a namespace for that particular one so that nobody else will have that. You get a namespace, then you have that particular namespace available for that particular disease, let us say, one particular disease A namespace. And then you might write a disease, for disease A, you might be able to write a signature detector so that you can use the signature detector to detect disease A on any kinds of gene sequences which can come in, type of things. So that is the type of things you can do, is that you basically publish that I'm interested in this type of gene sequences, and I'm able to detect disease A, and then once I detect, I'll put out a relevance matrix for that particular gene sequence, whether it is relevant to disease A or not. And now you can have somebody else looking at, let us say somebody is looking at whether a gene sequence contains 4 different diseases, maybe disease A, B, and C, and D. They can go and ask for it. Okay, give me all the community where I can find disease A, B, and C and D together, and all the data which have this particular property will pop up for you. And remember, all these 4 diseases are not being detected by the same detector. They might have been detected by different detectors, developed by different people who have made these detectors available for the DataBridge. So right now, we have this system working, and we have show some screenshots on how it is working. This particular screenshot basically shows you that somebody has asked for a particular kind of sequence. So you're not select network data. They have selected a particular kind of network data, and then they given a similarity value to be associated with it. So in this particular case, I'm not sure if you're able to see it very well. They have detected what is called NC83 is the namespace given to that. In NC83, they said, get me all the relevant data which has got a similarity greater than, I think, 0.5, 0.8 or something like that, 0.85 or something like that. I'm not able to see it very well here because it's too small for me to read here. So basically, once it comes in, it finds all the community which belong to that and throws it up there. In this particular case, happens to be that there are two types of communities which have these, which fall into this particular category, and you are able to see those two links in there. And once you have the links, you can go and highlight a particular node and then see what is the similarity of that particular node, where it is coming from, and get some details about that particular node. And once you have the node, you can click on that particular node so that you can actually, if the data is available through a web, a URL, that URL is a published URL, you can go and get the data. And what we are here seeing here is a data coming out of the Odom Institute at UNC Chapel Hill. We have taken a lot of their all their particular data and ran it through the this DataBridge, and then took the data and formed the relevance metrics based on that. And once you have looked at it in that using that particular algorithm, this is how they become relevant, and you can do that. The main thing is that when I was choosing a particular relevance matrix, I might have chosen a different one also. Let me try to use this one. So here, I might have put a different kind of namespace. Then I might, for the same set of data, I might get a different type of linkages between the different data sets also. So here is a simple screenshot of how you can ingest a new data into there. You can just give a URL and then the namespace of that particular data and where it is coming from, it automatically gets ingested. One of the good things is that somebody can write a simple metadata extractor, maybe a DICOM extractor or a FITS extractor and things like that, and then extract metadata out of a particular, say, MRI or any of the imaging data or an ECG or EKG, and then they can put that into the metadata database and automatically ask it to find similarity with other data of the same kind, and will be able to do that. Again, it is left to you to define your own algorithm. For example, some particular set of people might be interested only in a particular part of the DICOM and not at the other parts, or some people might be interested in some of the comments and things like that which are in there, and they can use that. Okay, so what we have right now is an implementation of this particular one, and we have applied it to a few thousands of data sets. There are still work to do. We have a set of advanced features we want to add to it with respect to how to find data as well as visualization and so on and so forth. And obviously it is a little bit lean on documentation for people to use it. We are still coming up to stream on that particular one. We would like to also do some scalability analysis of our data. We have worked with a few thousand data, but that's nothing. We would like to see what happens when somebody ingests, say, 1 million data into it and how it scales. We are hoping that will scale very well together because the message-oriented architecture has been shown to scale to billions of messages without any problem. So we hope that we will be able to use that and see that it really works to that particular type of things. And we are always looking for new data, new algorithms, and new types of usage models. In our case, we have made it basically used for social science data, because our two partners, Harvard University as well as the Odom Institute, who are the other partners of this particular project, both are social science data. They are the data providers for us at this particular stage. So we have tested our data with them, but we would like to test it with a lot of different kinds of data. Remember, this is completely domain agnostic, So we should be able to put in any relevance algorithm and any type of clustering mechanism in there so that we'll be able to use them. We would like to obviously, we did a little bit of metadata in there, but we would like to see how we can extend it beyond just the metadata which can be extracted out of it, but also about how data being used, what type of methods are being used as relevance metrics in there. Coming to the last but one slide, these are all the people who are involved in this particular project. Like I said, the project has been up and running for around 2 years now. We are in our 3rd year, and basic implementation has been and implementation and testing has been done and shown to be working quite well. So I think I'm almost done with my talk. It's like around 40 minutes or so, and open myself to questions. And you can see I have a URL there so that you can go there. And if you want to get a little bit more details, like I said, we are a little bit lean on documentation. We got a few papers published, but the usage, we are supposed to get a user manual for DataBridge, which hopefully will come sometime soon. I'm ready for questions. Thank you.
We're going to unmute everybody and then open for questions.
The conference has been unmuted.
Okay, so questions for Dr. Raja?
Hi, I have a question. This is Hyunhee Kim from UCSD, and thanks for the great work and great talk. I enjoyed your presentation a lot. I think I might have missed it, although you talked about it. So my question is, what kind of metadata items that you are using and how you are getting them?
Okay, in this particular case, the social science data are what is called survey data of multiple surveys. Like I said, we took more than 1,000 surveys in there. Some of them are political surveys. I'm not sure that if you look at the diagram, you will see that these are polls and surveys that are coming in. In our case, what we did was we took all of them, all the data which is in there. There are some of them have the social science data has got a lot of social metadata which it's their own particular schema they use, and we have taken that metadata, happen to be strings of that one, and then used them and then did a k-means algorithm to do the relevance in there.
I see.
Yeah. The similarity is based on k-means.
No, the clustering is different.
Okay.
The similarity is actually based on overlap.
The similarity is based on overlap, and the clustering is based on k-means. That's what.
Right.
Yeah.
So the data is coming from the Dataverse
Okay.
network.
Here it's Howard Lander. Like I said, he's the chief developer of the system.
Yeah. So the data, if you look at the Dataverse network, which is where we're getting data at the moment, the data already. Dataverse network pretty much requires the user to enter keywords, metadata that describe the data. And so we have an ingester
Which extracts those.
which extracts that keyword and puts it in a place. And so when Raja was saying, one of the things that to integrate a new community, one of the things that you would do is you would write your own ingester, and so the metadata, in whatever format you have it, right, would be ingested into our system, and then the algorithms can run on it. Now, there's also the possibility that we haven't explored yet, because of lack of time, of generating metadata from the data sets. And there's several ways of doing that, but we haven't done it yet.
Let's assume that you have a DICOM metadata in there. You can just write a DICOM extractor for that particular one, and then that will extract the relevant metadata. And in a sense, when I look at something like DICOM, there are multiple types of metadata of interest, not just one particular kind. Even in the social science data, we extracted only one particular kind of metadata. There are other things like, for example, which particular community did the survey, or which particular organization did the survey is an important metadata. We never use that particular one. Who are all the people who are part of it? Maybe is it done in Chicago, or is it done in New York, or is it done in different? We didn't extract those type of metadata. We extracted only a particular kind of metadata which came out of the keywords from there and use it. So for the same data, there are multiple ways of extracting metadata, and you can now use that to do similarities. For example, you might be able to say, find me all the surveys done in Chicago, type of thing, is something which you cannot get out of our similarity index, but if somebody writes a similarity for that particular one, we should be able to give that.
All right. So let me say, so there's a defined interface, right, in Java. And so if you code, for the similarity metrics, for example, if you code anything to that interface, right, as long as the metadata is available, the system will run this algorithm for you and create a similarity matrix that can be inserted, right? And then so the whole thing that we've built is a very flexible platform. That's the basic idea.
So in the sense that you basically provide extractors, you basically provide signature detectors, and our similarity detectors, and that's it. It automatically does all the magic behind it to pull things together and run it only on those type of data and get the results back.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Hi, this is Rishabh calling in from MIT. I just had a quick question. I apologize if I missed this. I was just wondering whether the software is already made open access to everybody, if there's a GitHub repository, or how we can access the current state of the software.
It is in GitHub. GitHub DataBridge. You could clone it right now, if you want. You know, are you going to be able to do anything with it? You know, I sort of doubt it. But it's there.
Yeah, you actually, we would like, in a sense, we would like to see people provide us with these extractors and detectors.
Right. So there's actually
that's the main thing. And if you look at the GitHub, you'll be able to look at what type of detectors and extractors are available for you now, and form your own detectors and extractors. And if you want to run your own DataBridge system, you can run your own DataBridge system also.
Yeah.
Because it's got all the things which is needed, the metadata base. And this one, which we run here using MongoDB, we use Neo4j, but it doesn't need to be Neo4j. It can be anything else.
Right.
Similarly, we don't need to run it as MongoDB. You can run it as a Postgres. As long as you have the API around it and know the schema,
right.
It can put it
right.
in there.
If you look, it's probably a lot more technical detail than you want, but look, what Raja's saying is correct. It would be possible. The thing to remember is that it's not released yet. So Raja says we're at 0.5.
Yeah, we need a good level of documentation for somebody to take it and run with it.
And I think.
But if you want to play with it, we are really happy.
Right. But you'll find problems with it, right? I mean, and when we release it at 1.0, then we hope you won't find problems with it. But it's unreleased. But yet if you go to GitHub,
but friendly developers are welcome.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah. Friendly, but if you go to DataBridge, if you look at GitHub, there's a DataBridge and a DataBridge contrib, and the contrib is where the algorithms go because they're not the ingest algorithms and things like that go because they're not considered to be part of the core system. The core system is just the engines that run these things. I hope that answers the question.
Yes. Yep. Thank you very much. And when do you expect the full release to come out? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, we probably will do within the 6 months or so.
Oh yeah,
hopefully.
Yeah. Well, I would expect it. I would expect it within 6 months.
The chief developer says 6 months, so I don't have anything else to add.
So call me in 5 and see how I'm doing.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You can ask.
So the next step, are you planning to extend the use of DataBridge on biomedical data, or you have plans to other types of data as well?
It's completely open. We would like to do for biomedical data. Actually, that's one of the reasons we are coming to you guys to see how to explore how we can extend the collaboration.
All right.
One of the things is that, like I said, it is completely domain agnostic. You can write these algorithms and wrap them. And remember, these algorithms doesn't need to be in Java or anything language because that's one of the reasons we made it into this message-oriented architecture. Right. You can wrap any of your, say you have a Python code which is running, you can wrap them because RabbitMQ provides you with an API in multiple languages. You can just use that to interact with them, and then.
I don't know that I'd say that.
You don't want to say that? No,
Yeah.
I think. What do you think?
It could.
No, how has got a lot more.
It could be. Let me just say, it's easy to run the Rabbit part of it.
Yeah.
The platform itself at the moment expects your code to be in Java, but that could be.
I don't want them to run the DataBridge platform. I want them to contribute algorithms for it.
Right. At the
that one you can do it in any language.
In theory, yes. At the moment, the code expects it to be in Java, but we could fix that very easily if you had it in another language.
That's where in the 6 months, those are the type of things that will be done.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
but that's what we are hoping for. Okay, come on.
So for people who want to submit algorithms, can they do that through GitHub, or like do you have like a contrib repository?
Well, that's what I'm saying. There is a DataBridge -contrib repository where the algorithms go. Yeah, and it's all. This is all very technical, but the answer is you submit your algorithms, and they can be run. And there's a little bit of a manual process required at the moment for that. But
see, we are in the sense that we are very young. Which, like I said, it's only 2 years into the project, and by development it is only 1 year.
Yeah.
Because the first year we were basically looking at all the different things, the design and coming together about how we are planning to do. And obviously the design took a lot of time because we wanted to worry about scalability and how are we going to deal with the different type of signatures and this and that. So the whole big thing came in before we started cutting code in there. And obviously this type of NSF project doesn't give much money for development.
Yeah.
So we are still in that particular one. Actually, that's why I like friendly developers all the time.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, we'll take any help we can get.
I suspect the same is true for bioCADDIE also.
Yeah.
So I have another question. This is referring specifically to the first mile problem. So I understand DataBridge is trying to solve the last mile problem. Are there specific partners that you have reached out to help you with the first mile problem of getting people to actually put up their data in a way in which is digestible?
Yeah, actually the two sets of people whom we chose for exactly that particular type of reason. One is the DVN, the Dataverse Network, who have this type of long-term repository for social science data. They have the repository for that one, so the DataBridge doesn't need to worry about it. So yes, the second type of partner we are doing is with the Datanet Federation Consortium, which basically is collecting data from multiple science and engineering domains. It is another NSF-funded project which works with a lot of different kinds of domains such as hydrology and biology and cognitive science and people like that. And each of these disciplines have their own repository. So our main idea is to get data from them and use them as the repository for these type of data. So in a sense, the first mile problem, we cannot force them to do it, but that is one of the angles we are looking at first mile problem. And if the DataBridge is working very well and we are able to solve the last mile problem very well, one of the idea is to go back to NSF and say, hey, we are solving the last mile problem, but the first mile problem need to be addressed. Can we start doing that? And can you fund us to do some parts of that? And we are always looking for somebody with a repository who would like to make the data in there available to us so that we can go and get the data. It is, remember, if you can look at data, one way of looking at DataBridge is it is trying to provide you with a search engine, but the main idea behind the search engine is that there is no one search mechanism. It is completely democratized. You provide the search mechanism. You provide the signature detector so that it detects for that particular type of signature. If you go to Google, there is only one type of signature detector in a sense. Basically some sort of a IDF type of thing. Whereas in our case, it's a lot more complicated. You can have different kinds of signature detector, one for different kinds of genomes, one for astronomy, one for this, and actually multiple for multiple kind of things, which are basically, I am interested in this particular data and I have a detector for it. let me unleash it on your data type of thing.
Thank you.
So, hi, this is Amy from Columbia University. I had a quick question hinging on that last part. Do you see DataBridge as an option for, in essence, bridging the many institutional repositories that are currently holding research data in addition to the disciplinary repositories that you mentioned?
Yes, I hope so, yes. Those are the kind of things, because they are already, they are already available. Those type of data are available, but DataBridge will be able to make links across those data in ways which are different than what is normally done. Like a particular researcher might come up with one way of dealing with data, and they can say, I'm interested in this type of data. And my pet example is that, let us say I'm an astronomer. I have a way of detecting what we call binary stars. So give me a plate, and I will be able to tell you whether that plate has a binary star. When I say a plate, I mean an image of a part of a sky. And then I have this particular detector which only detects binary stars, and I can make it available to DataBridge. Now, anytime an astronomy image falls into DataBridge, either coming through an astronomy repository like Johns Hopkins, this one, or All Sky Survey, or anything like that, I should be able to apply this detector to that particular data and say if that file, the new astronomy file, has got a binary star or not. If it is there, then I say, yes, this one has it. And I don't do anything more than that. I just detect, saying that this file has binary stars. And somebody else will take that information and go and put that into a collection. Maybe a collection, maybe they might ask for extra things. Maybe another detector comes and says, I'm interested only in these type of plates which contain binary star, because I want to look at the surroundings of the binary star. So it may kick off somebody else to go and detect something else. So that is the type of chain reaction which we are looking at, and hopefully these type of institutional repositories will be a good thing to add to our list of people who can provide data.
Thank you.
Thank you. Remember, one of the main ideas we came up, we started this is for the dark data, the long tail of science data. That is where the first mile problem is an important problem for us to solve, because those are the data which are available on somebody's disks on an Excel spreadsheet of a biologist who has gone to the Amazon forest or something like that and collected say 20 years worth of data, and it's not yet published. We would like to see if that can be made available and automatically. And we cannot ask that person to go and do metadata mining and things like that. And maybe somebody else has written some detectors, and we can unleash those detectors on these data. That's the main idea behind our thing.
Okay, I think we got in the end of our presentation. It's 11 already. And Dr. Raja, I hope that Dr. Raja will be available in the email for any other questions.
Sure. Actually, you can see my email there, and please feel free to send me email.
So thank you again, Dr. Raja, for this great presentation today. And the next presentation for our webinar is going to be on May 14. The Content Mine group is going to present a webinar for us. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting, and I'm very happy about to give the talk. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you.